without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Zach Kindler, and he's going to give us a little rundown of what the Crested Butte area has been seeing over the last few weeks, kind of since New Year's Day-ish. So take it away, Zach. Thanks so much for doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Ian. And big thanks, Ann, for being here. I think we're all super excited to listen to Ann and have her drop some knowledge and experience on us. And after my little presentation of high pressure here, I think we'll get to see some more exciting stuff. So I'll just kind of roll through the last month or so and talk a little bit about briefly about the science of our high pressure. It's unfortunately been dry. We're kind of in these times where it's like feast or famine. We had, a huge December, two big cycles, one near record-setting cycle, and then now we've gone almost a month without a major storm. So this is a picture of Eric here feasting on some D4 avalanche after that big cycle. But again, now we've gone a little bit dry and just kind of taking a look at 500 millibar winds here. These are jet stream level winds. Crested Butte is the star right there. And this scenario is unfortunately one we have seen quite a few times in the past. It's a blocking pattern, a persistent high pressure off to our west, just west of us. It's called a Rex block. You might hear the NWS folks calling it a Rex block. And basically that's a large area of high pressure poleward or north of a low pressure system. And again, unfortunately, these two things kind of work together to just deflect winds and moisture and storms away from our area. We don't see those favorable orographics. Generally, our area benefits from west-southwest flow. And again, this is just kind of pushing things up and over us. And so we really don't like to see this scenario, but that's what we got going on. This is a quick look at geopotential height is what this chart is, but really this is just pressure. So again, showing that high pressure with a little cutoff low beneath it, and area of large low pressure troughing off to the east, and that's pretty common when you have high pressure in one area, you'll see low pressure in another. And we've seen several nor'easters on the East Coast. They've been getting some good snow out of this. Unfortunately, that's kind of been at the demise of our area. This is snow water equivalent at Schofield Pass. This is the amount of water that we have in our snowpack. And you can very clearly see our early season drought, and then a decent cycle early December, the 9th and 10th, we had a good cycle. And then our incredible holiday cycle, which just kind of put us through the roof, almost maxed us out for that day and for that time period, almost a greater snowpack than we've ever seen at Schofield. But now we've gone into this long drought. The line's kind of flatlined, and so we're still above average. We got a lot of water in that snow, so that's good, but it's just been dry for a bit. I grabbed this mediogram. This is from our Elkton station. This is from the Dan K weather station, and a big shout out to the Dan K family who provides us the resources to keep this thing going. This is at just over 11,000 feet. And I like this one because it does show a lot of information here. We got temperatures, we've got winds, we've got the height of snow, and we also have a little avalanche table that's generated here. These are avalanches that are actually reported to the CBAC. As many of you know, CBAC does have its own avalanche database as well, but this happens to be avalanches reported to the CAIC. So you can kind of see one cool correlation that I like to look at here is just the height of snow in relationship to our avalanche danger. And I overlaid avalanche danger onto this snow height. You can see on the 31st of December, we were at extreme, we were at black as we topped out with our max snow height. But then we can really see the settlement of that snowpack, and the way the settlement has kind of followed this downward trend, as has our danger. As that slab, we buried those weak layers, those early season weak layers pretty deeply, and that slab continued to gain strength and settle. And that just made triggering an avalanche less sensitive and even less likely as the days went on. And you can see by January 16th, we were at low danger, quickly followed by the Southeast mountains. But again, just that kind of dry period here. There have been a few storms in between. You can see a few blips, few avalanches here, and I'll kind of show some pictures from that. A few wind events, unfortunately, but not a whole lot happening as our snowpack continues to settle and we kind of settle into low danger, which is not a bad thing either. We did have a cycle on around the 8th of January. We had a few inches of snow and a little bit of wind, and this snow actually fell on a grapple layer, and that's not something we see a whole lot around here. Grapple is like a small kind of hail pellet, basically like a soft hail pellet, and they're round and they can kind of act like a ball bearing and create a non-persistent weak layer. It usually heals pretty quickly, but we did see a few avalanches releasing on this one, and you can see on this avalanche, for example, how low in the start zone this thing released, and that's due to that grapple kind of bouncing off the cliffs and the steep terrain and pooling down here lower in those start zones and creating that sliding surface. So we had a little bit of action with that storm there. And then on the 12th, the wind started picking up. We had north winds, unfortunately, that really moved some snow around and kind of messed up the nice soft conditions we had in the Alpine. Again, those were blown out of the north, and so we saw that starting on the 12th. Here's a picture from Cascade, and again, those northerly winds were kind of cross-loading this southeast slope, creating a small wind slab here. And again, just kind of roughing up the surfaces in the Alpine. We also had some really warm temperatures, unfortunately, at that time. And you can see in the background here, this is more of a south aspect of Mineral Point. You can see some wet, loose avalanches kind of starting to run there. So again, we saw crust on the southerlies and wind kind of blowing across a lot of the terrain. Next little pulse was on the 21st and 22nd, and this is an animation of relative vorticity, which is basically just a measure of spin and rotation through the atmosphere. That generally follows a storm. So you can see this scenario similar to what I showed earlier. A small storm made its way up and over the ridge and kind of cut itself off. Brushed Colorado, not a favorable wind direction and not a lot of dynamics, not a lot of moisture with this. So again, we just saw a few inches of snow. That snow did fall on a pretty weak surface because we have, the snow has just been sitting around under high pressure, cold temps at night. And so we did see some small soft slabs, easily triggered soft slabs. This one was actually Evan and Zach up on Mineral Point. They were able to trigger these just by throwing a rock from the peak here. And so real small avalanches, surface instability is really all we've had to talk about. So same cycle, that was kind of the sunny side of Mineral Point. That sun was able to heat up that new snow and release some smaller avalanches there. And so that's, again, what we've been dealing with, which, again, it's not a bad thing. We haven't had to tiptoe around worrying about those deep, persistent layers. We've really just been dealing with small wind slabs when the wind picks up and some small, loose avalanches. And then they kind of kicked up again on the 26th. These were out of the north and even northeast, which is not common and generally does some different things. So northeast winds kicked up on the 26th. This is Mount Owen moving some snow around. That was able to cross-load this easterly aspect, and this was a rider triggered avalanche. Again, pretty shallow, but this one propagated widely, but remained in the D1 realm here on Mount Owen. And again, with that northeast wind, it was able to load up some southerly aspects as well. So this is the White Rock area. This is a south aspect up above tree line. Pretty small hard slab avalanche, which is relatively harmless to a person, but could push you around a little bit. And again, that's what we've been dealing with as far as the type of instabilities. So just a quick look at what our surfaces look like, because that is the focus of any avalanche problem, is remain in the upper snowpack. This is the shady side of Axtell. this is a path that slid, so it's pretty shallow, which further enhances the faceting. But lots of well-developed facets with some very soft storm snow in between. And so what we have is like 8 to 10 inches of cohesionless snow at the surface. And that is leading to some, easy to manage, but also somewhat easy to trigger loose snow avalanches. This is from Schuylkill Ridge, and these are all skier triggered avalanches. Again, small size, but you can see they're running through trees, and this larger one on the left here runs into a gully. So you don't want to get tangled up with these. You want to, be able to manage these and kind of understand how to avoid these, because they're going to push you into trees and gullies and places you don't really want to go. But again, we're not dealing with largely propagating avalanches. We're not dealing with slab avalanches that are hard to predict. These things are pretty easy to manage with ski cuts, or just avoiding, slopes over 38 degrees or so that are in the shade. And we're also seeing some of that in the alpine too. This is above tree line. Again, that snow surfaces with the high pressure, very cold nights has faceted away. And we are triggering these sloughs, really, that are, again, easy to manage, but just something to be aware of. So that is our primary avalanche problem at the moment. These dry, loose avalanche, you can see the distribution rows here, the shady side of the compass, northwest through northeast possible, and again, remaining small in size. We have had a couple bumps up to moderate with some winds and a little bit of additional snow, but we're currently at low. This is today's forecast. The trend for tomorrow is at low. And with nothing really on the horizon, no major storms, unfortunately, we're kind of in this pattern of low danger. And not the best if you want to ski fresh powder, but there's some great riding out there. This has been a really fun month to get out and to, ski some steeper lines, ski some terrain that we don't usually get to ski in mid-January. And people are getting after it. It's been great to see out there, and it's been fun to be a part of, because usually we have to wait until April or May to ride some of these lines that we're able to just push into pretty confidently now. And just a quick look ahead. This is a 6 to 10 day forecast. The time period for this is February 8th through 12th, so about a week out. And unfortunately, again, showing a below average chance of probability of precipitation. And you can kind of tell that's due to that large area of high pressure, that big dome of high pressure just off to our west. One good thing is we have been on the cool side of this. This has created northwest flow, so we haven't had super warm temperatures, which I think is something good to be said. Wish I had some better news there as far as the forecast goes, but we'll do our snow dance, and I really don't like to look too much past a week. It can change pretty quickly, and the last few years we've seen some really good cycles in February and March. We will hope for that, and that's all I have. I'm going to throw it back to Ian and Ann and let y'all take over.
Awesome. Thanks.